What
Yes.
up?
Hey, gentlemen, how we doing?
Fantastic. It had been a few days since we had a crazy guest reveal, so I'm glad we got one.
We got the DJ this morning, and then we got the Anon, the branded Anon. I love it.
Hey, man, if you're going to be Anon and you're going to sell a product, you might as well do both at once, right?
100%.
Amen.
So, Blue, you're the founder and CEO of LeverBet, the pioneering leverage sports betting platform merging crypto with real world wagering. So, I've always, longtime sports fan and sports bettor. I've always, very naturally, like crypto and sports betting has always felt like it's a very obvious and natural fit. Yet at the same time, I've always felt like it's just so well served by Web 2 that like really getting a sense of like where the wedge into that market has been something that's been hard for me. So I'm curious where the insight for Lever came that kind of gives you conviction that there's a big opportunity here to kind of go take on these behemoths.
Yeah, I mean, so first it was just kind of looking at the Web3 sports betting world holistically. Part of our founding team comes from professional sports betting background, so we were deploying capital into Web3 and like farming and yield farming on Binance Chain and Avalanche and Polygon and whatnot a few years ago, and said, where can we do something for the sports betting fund deployment wise, and came back with a big fat like there's just nothing here for us. And so to me that spoke to market opportunity of stuff has tried many a time to hit off sports betting in Web3, and some format, probably the most successful is pseudo prediction market based formats, right? And so you see Polymarket's doing pretty well right now with sports betting. So there is inherent demand for it. There's a big crossover with people who do sports betting that also gamble in Web3 on meme coins or just do general trading. And so for us, it came together really from being really big fans of GMX early on and trading heavily on there and looking at that and saying, there's probably room to create a perps product or a similar type of product for sports betting. And we had multiple PhDs on staff and are kind of looking at the problem as a challenge. And there at the time were a few larger crypto Twitter accounts that were asking, hey, where's my leverage sports betting, right? And so we thought, this is something that we as a fund would use, that we as professional gamblers, as degen traders, all of the above would use. So we should let's see where this thing takes us, right? So that's what kind of spawned everything and pushed us in here. And we've been on testnet on Monad now since, I want to say mid-February. It was day one testnet for their deployment for their testnet. And we've had several 100,000 users hop through, several million bets placed. So for me, I feel like we have captured lightning in the bottle for it, and there's some demand there to make the sports betting sector in Web3 meet in the most degenerate way possible.
Can you talk a little bit about the mechanism that unlocks leverage sports bets, like what's going on under the hood?
So let's just keep it super high level. We pull in price feeds from or odds feeds from top casinos. So think of us using odds data from Caesars and Circa and Bovada in the same way that your favorite perp dex uses price feeds of Bitcoin or Ethereum from Binance and Bybit and Uniswap, right? And so we pull in those odds feeds. We price the positions we sell based upon those odds feeds. In the back end of the system, it's a $1 scale. So think of like a even money bet. You're buying 50-cent tokens that will eventually be redeemable for $1 if your bet hits. If you're on 5x leverage, you have 10 cents backing each one of those 50-cent tokens. And live during the game, again, tracking odds from the same oracle that we've custom made out from these sports feeds. And if that odds pricing ratio gets below 40 cents, your collateral is theoretically depleted. So we're going to liquidate your position. And even if you go on to win, your bet is not going to hit because you were liquidated. Counterside to that is if you go through, take 5x leverage, and it never falls below that 40-cent threshold, then you'll go on to win not only your bet, but 5x the size of the bet that you initially placed. And that's the power of leverage.
Yeah. I love it. So I think attracting liquidity has always been a huge challenge for, emergent prediction markets. So, and obviously with leverage, you kind of need even deeper books to a degree. So I'm curious how you guys have overcome that.
So to be clear, we're not live yet with cash betting. We're still in our beta test phase. We'll be probably till about the start of the NFL season. But we need two major sources of liquidity. First, we operate in a pseudo perp-dex format of pooled liquidity backing the positions or countersighting the positions. So we need users to come in and deposit USDC into we call it the MVP vault that shares in a portion of platform revenue. Roughly 50% is fed back into the vault. And so that we're working with liquid deployment funds early on. We'll have a vault liquidity rush that'll happen here hopefully within the next 2-3 months. And we'll try and stack. Our goal is to get about $10 million in TVL before we go live with cash betting. It puts us in a really good spot. The interest so far has been pretty good from it. I don't think we'll have an extreme amount of trouble getting up to that. We've also shown pretty profitable through the first portion of the beta test. So the vault should have very low risk, very high upside, yada, yada. The second and more important liquidity that will be a little bit tougher to get is just traditional bettors coming in and placing wagers. And so we have a few mechanisms to attract them. First and foremost, very reduced VIG, as close to true odds as we can get for it, so that we're not trying to kind of squeeze you on the juice on the front end. We'll make money on borrow rate. We also have a novel bet mechanism with leverage, so we're hoping users will adopt that and come to us as the kind of only place that they can currently get it. And especially if we have deep liquidity for them to boot on it, where they can take $5, $10, $15,000 bets, we think they'll get there. And we also think users will start strategizing on how to arbitrage off risk between us and other books, potentially doing stuff like, seeing a formula to close off liquidity risk on lever up to a certain point and then arb it off on Polymarket up to a certain point. And so if we can start getting an early spool of traction on TVL into the vault with some users playing with it, and we really just need a few hundred users per market to be extremely long-term successful. So we think we can get there with kind of the established traction we already have right now, and hopefully coming out of the gate is one of Monad's top projects.
So there's a saying I've been hearing investors say recently, and I'm curious your thoughts on it. It goes something like, all fintechs will become crypto, but not all crypto will become a fintech. And I think it's talking about sort of the shift in regulations, ultimately unlocking some of these incumbents and their ability to leverage crypto rails and bring some of these more diverse products to the mainstream. So I'm curious how you're thinking about how this market is going to evolve, and ultimately how you plan on competing with these big incumbents. Do you sort of see like a meaningful time before these sort of perps and leverage are being able to be brought into the more regulated framework?
Yeah, I think we have a little bit of a head start just to really get in there before something like there's no one that's regulating perps and sports betting right now, because they didn't exist before we started pushing this out, right? So, and quite frankly, I don't think the data channels to pull in the data needed in the format needed for us to be able to run something like this really was set up properly to exist before maybe 2 years ago, right? So we came in at this strange inflection time where we wanted to run a product, and the data availability of being able to feasibly run the product coincided right at a perfect time for us. So there's also a thing where traditional sports books don't innovate, they purchase, right? So Caesars isn't out there trying to invent new ways to bet. They'd rather just buy up a company that's invented a new way to bet, take it over and run with it, right? So for us, we look at the availability of being able to prove something like this in Web3 and then take it to retail as fast as possible. So we look at 3 different market segments. We have traditional Web3 users that sports bet or would sports bet in Web3 if there was something that spoke to them. We have traditional retail bettors that will bet on something that's new, exciting, and are looking for a parlay style payout, right? And so that's the largest growing segment of sports bettors. And then we're also looking at professional sports betting funds being able to come in and deploy in strategies that will offset their risk elsewhere in large degree, because they can lever up to cover $100,000 worth of risk with $10,000, $20,000 worth of collateral, right? And so if we can bridge the gap between the 3 of them and start it in a way where, let's be honest, guys, you're not starting a pooled liquidity vault outside of Web3. right? There's just no feasible mechanism to, like, maybe what I could take some crazy equity loan against the company that we don't even have like proven out yet to get the, like, it's not happening. And so I think if we can build the backbone of the product off of some Web3 rails, then hopefully at some point we have Web3 power users on a completely traditional perp deck style product playing against retail sports bettors that think they're using something akin to FanDuel's or DraftKings, right? And they don't care. They don't care if it's Web3. They just want a product that works.
Yeah, I can already imagine how just like already just sports betting on Polymarket and like kind of live trading it or watching, the market evolve in real time as you're watching the game, I think is really fun. And you add leverage and chances of liquidation to that. And I think it just adds a whole new level to the betting experience.
Look at the smile on Josh's face.
Yeah, this is my jam, man. I love it.
Man, the best plays are live. So like, we're stepping into live game betting. We're doing our V2 launch here in like the next, let's say, 2 months. And then shortly thereafter, we'll turn on live game betting for the public. We have it sectioned down to just our market maker bot right now. And during internal testing, the most fun is always like somebody hits a home run right after you bought the position. Now you're sitting at like 40x because you bought it at just almost pennies on leverage.
Right.
And now you're screaming in the bar, right? And so we're very excited to hit that into the hands of degenerates.
I would be crying in the bar because unless I make zero money on my,
it would go the other way.
Yeah, exactly. Fandom is too strong for me to be an effective sports bettor, unfortunately.
I mean, I'm curious.
Only so many of us win, right? Everybody likes to say
so many of us.
I'm curious how you think about the maybe longer term vision for the platform. Obviously, I think leverage betting is a great starting point, and wedge. When you think longer term, is there kind of more innovative game types down the road, or you think you're just kind of all in on leverage and just going to be the leverage sportsbook?
This is a good question. We look at it more of like we like to look at the way that FanDuel's and DraftKings brought in prop betting and fantasy betting, and then we're able to establish a more well-rounded sports book after they had a contingent of users who are going to remain with them just because that's their brand, right? And so that's kind of what we're looking to do is bring them in with the leverage sports book, but also have some ancillary games, which I'm not going to announce yet, but you guys will see in the future. Follow us at lever_bet and you'll get the latest feed on them. But we do have musings for other kind of innovative things going on, especially with more like quick hit games, crash out games type of stuff, more traditional kind of casino games, maybe even some crypto perps in the future. But once we have a contingent of users, we want to offer every product that they would use otherwise in our system to help stave off any retention issues of them going elsewhere to go then use that product at a place where it exists that we don't have, right? So long term, we look at offering a suite of products, not just leverage sports betting. We also look at stuff like partnering with more traditional casinos that have licensing networks inside the United States. Cough, Polymarket's just big acquisition, right? And being able to service different jurisdictions as well. So we're trying to use a stepping stone approach of going from Web3 into retail, from the kind of more traditional Cloudflare based restrictions into a gaming license, into partnerships with really heavy firms. It just, sky's the limit if you're making revenue, right?
Revenue meta will sustain.
Hey guys, can we look at the big acquisitions that have come in crypto here? It was like Privy got swooped up. I'm sure there was some other stablecoin stuff that I'm not thinking about. Circle IPO went well, right? Yeah. This Polymarket acquisition. One thing is in common with everybody making moves: they make revenue.
There's a business.
Yeah, exactly.
That maybe leads to my last question here, which is, this. Some very popular narratives over the last little while and have been the financial nihilist narrative, or maybe the long degeneracy narrative. And sports betting, crypto sort of bubble up into this. And it feels like there's almost like a cultural moment or movement around this. And I'm wondering what you make of that trend.
I think it's people want two things. They want opportunity and they want entertainment. Right. And I think opportunity and entertainment cross section at both crypto and sports betting. Right. And I long anything that is in that sector because I don't think it's going away, right? Are people going to want to stop being entertained? Absolutely not. Are people going to want to stop being financially risky and wanting to take long shot bets, right? That might retire the bloodline? Absolutely not, right? The lottery is one of the longest running businesses. They sell millions of dollars at tickets at gas stations worldwide. And almost nobody wins that shit, right? And if people are going to continue to buy it ad infinitum as long as it's for sale, right? I'm hard that the pump funds of the world will continue to exist in whatever format they're in forever, right? That's never going to stop. Though, in my opinion, what you're seeing right now with stuff like financial institutions backing their treasuries with Bitcoin or Ethereum is larger companies are becoming more degenerate, right? They're not becoming more fiscally sound, right? They're becoming more degenerate.
Sailor's going to come for you, brother. Look out.
So, and it's not, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it speaks to, hey, we've been playing in our bubble. The bubble gets bigger as more kids want to swim in the pond, right?
Yep. All right, sick. Well, we'll let you go here. Blue, thanks for jumping on, man. Excited to play with the platform when it goes live. I think you mentioned what's the Twitter account if people want to go check it out?
At lever _ bet. So LEVRBET. That's also the site, LEVR.bet. Go holler at us, play around. The beta test is free to use right now as long as you got some testnet mon. And we'll be making a ton of announcements over the next few weeks on the Twitter. So thank you guys for having me.
Thanks for jumping on, man. Peace.
Cheers.